Hi guys, and welcome to this presentation today, which I'm making in relation to the news over Facebook. Now you obviously can't miss the fact, in actual fact, that I'm wearing sunglasses, and I apologise for that, but it's either I'm in very deep shade or alternatively I've got to be standing out in the sun to get the lighting right, because I'm filming on location again, this time at Barracas de Gebeth in Murcia in Spain. Now the situation is that we've had an awful lot of news recently in relation to Facebook. There's been changes of the algorithm over most of 2017, which has caused an awful lot of business owners an awful lot of concern and worry, and rightfully so, because they've seen their exposure to potential new markets diminish over time. And then of course on top of that, we just recently had the news that all business pages are going to be shifted to an Explorer feed, which is going to mean that your organic reach is affected, as it won't obviously appear on the news feed as it once did. Now I've been looking into this, as you know, as many of you that have been following my page and following my updates quite a lot. I've been reading an awful lot about it and trying to get the lowdown, not least of all because obviously it affects me as it's a marketing channel for myself, but also because it affects an awful lot of the people that I work with in terms of clients. And so what I would say to you is that having looked at the situation, my first point is don't panic about this. And the reason I say don't panic is because I've actually done, some of you know, a lot of analysis over the last few months before the news of this broke, that this was going to be happening. And the actual exposure to in terms of the news feed has diminished to such a degree that, from what I understand, you'll be lucky if 1 in 50 people that are subscribing to you will actually see any content that you produce organically. So the situation is that on that basis alone, things have diminished quite considerably over the last 12 to 18 months. That said, obviously this Explorer feed, there is no doubt about it, whatever anybody says, it will affect us in the long term. How do I know this? Well, they did a trial through, I believe, 6 different countries, and every one that they actually did a test through, I believe it came out where in the over the test period, that there was a downturn in terms of organic reach. So from an organic point of view, you will over time see your results diminished. What I would say is, though, that initially you might actually find bizarrely an uplift, and the reason for that is because, let's be fair, probably more than 1 in 50 are going to go and explore the Explorer feed and have a look and just check it out, so you might actually get some exposure there. And number 2, there's also an opportunity right now, I think, because I believe that a very small proportion relatively of businesses that have business pages actually use Facebook advertising. The Facebook advertisers have increased threefold, I believe, over the last year, but it's still very much in the minority. So if you do use Facebook as an advertising channel, then there are opportunities for you to still get in front of your audience before it becomes such a crowded space, because you can bet your bottom dollar that an awful lot of businesses will now be jumping onto Facebook ads more and more in order to compete for that attention. Now that's the situation there. What can you do in terms of this? Well, I've heard of different people saying about jumping platforms. That's absolutely an option in terms of if you want to go and consider doing that. And certainly if you're a business, then LinkedIn is the obvious one, and also Twitter is one that I personally have quite a lot of interaction with. That said, what you might want to do is to just rethink your marketing strategy, because an awful lot of people that are saying to me that they're concerned about the situation, what they've been doing, they've been in some cases boosting posts. Now, boosting posts is not an effective way to actually marketing on Facebook. In actual fact, Facebook have actually said this themselves. So they reckon that you should have about 10% of your marketing spend going through boost posts. You need to find out about and you need to be actually physically advertising on Facebook. If you're not clear on how to go and do that, put a comment at the bottom, and maybe what I'll do is I'll do a video in terms of how you can construct those in the future. But one thing I will say to you is you must make sure that whatever you do, that you do make sure you are advertising on Facebook, and now is a great time to go and test and measure some of those processes. I hope that's sort of giving you a little bit of a flavour. Don't panic right now. We're all going to have, everybody that I speak to has got a different view in terms of how this might work out, and I would recommend that you highly that what you in actual fact do is just take, like everybody else's, a step back and just see how things change. One thing that Facebook have said is that they acknowledge the fact that they have not looked after business owners as they should have done in relation to their big strategy. Facebook, I think we all understand, has many different stakeholders, and the most important one is you and me and everybody else that actually uses it as a social network. They're going to protect that beyond everything else. And why? Because if they lose and have a mass exodus from that particular platform, because people are getting sick of being advertising or whatever it might be, and they go onto another platform, then that really damages their brand. However, we know, whereas I think business owners were probably very much towards the bottom end, well behind obviously their own personal drivers. I think it's very clear that they are now taking note, because they are concerned about some of the feedback they've received, to the point where I saw an interview with a very senior Facebook official saying they recognise they hadn't communicated well with business owners, and they intend on doing more to go and do that better during the course of next year and beyond. So, as I say, guys, my message today really is I've had an awful lot of taken an awful lot of time here to look into the finer details of what exactly is we face here as business owners in relation to our Facebook activity. There is no doubt about it, in the long term, if you want to get exposure on Facebook, then either A, you're going to have to look at advertising, or B, groups may be something we can look at, but there's apparently changes afoot for groups as well. So it's probably I'd probably be loath to put too much effort into that until such time as it's very clear as to what Facebook's intentions there are. Let's look at some certain things that you can be doing, maybe to test and measure, because nobody actually knows. There's so many different people out there, so-called experts, that seemingly are contradicting each other in some respects. So I don't think that, let's be fair, I heard of a particular story where a vice president within Facebook didn't even know something they were doing in relation to a new project they were doing, and that he was the vice president, because everything was kept so hush-hush. I think all these experts, of which I am not a Facebook expert, I hasten to add, they're people that are surmising, and they're making out there in the know. And quite frankly, in my experience, a lot of these people don't seem to know any more than the rest of us. They're waiting to see what actually happens. So test adverts, most definitely. I would also say another thing that I found that I've recently that's been quite useful is by interacting with other groups. So this is not my own groups, this is groups that other people have created where I believe my customer sits, and therefore interacting with those, offering value. You've got to deliver value, otherwise you won't get the follows and the likes, etc. But then those people will come across and check you out even more. So what I would say to you is try different things, guys. Don't panic. Let's see how it works out. Don't put all your efforts into just plowing in and creating groups, because there are changes afoot here. By all means do, if it seems easy and logical to you to go and create a group for your own benefit anyway, that's fine. But what I would be always wary of is just jumping from one thing to another on the basis that there might be changes afoot for groups as well next year, so bear that in mind. I hope that's been useful to you. It's just my take on having reviewed an awful lot of the information that's out there, and I'll catch up with you real soon. Take care, guys. Bye bye.